Oh, Clive's here. Sorry, Clive, I didn't see you.
Okay,
Good evening.
Only just joined.
That's started
Okay.
now, I think. So we're on YouTube now, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will start our meeting. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Madam Chair.
Members, would you please respect each other this evening? We want a nice, easy meeting and with everybody being amicable with each other. And please speak through the chair because we can then hear what you've all got to say. And if I don't see your hand up, I will get to you. I know because that's what's happened in the past and it makes people irritable, but it's not done on purpose. Okay, so please bear with me. Okay, part one of the agenda. Apologies to receive and accept apologies for absence. You?
No, there are none, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, okay. Number two, declarations of interest. Receive.
Stop. Can I ask if Councillor Ennie will substitute for Councillor Rubner, please?
No, Councillor Rudner's not on this committee, Councillor.
Oh, then it's on. Sorry
Full
about
house.
that. Nice try.
Okay, next time.
Okay. Received declarations of interest from councillors on items on the agenda. Received written requests for dispensations for declarable interests and grant any requests for dispensation as appropriate. Nothing. Okay. A public participation. To receive question statements from the public in relation to items on the agenda. 1 3-minute slot for up to 3 members of the public at the chairman's discretion. And this item may be considered at the end of the agenda. This period may also be used by members with an interest in an item to make a statement concerning that issue, example, grant applications. Do you want to do it at the end or do you want to do that now? What would you, I mean, whatever you like. Can you give me your opinions, please? Sorry?
Do we have any?
What, members of the public? Well, we haven't got any at this moment, but we might have some at the end.
Good.
So, I mean, what would you prefer now? Because there's nobody here.
Well, we can't do it now.
I'm going to make up my mind. Okay, we're going to have it now.
Yeah.
There's no people here, so we'll go on to number 4. Minutes. To confirm and sign the minutes of a meeting held on the 23rd of July 2020.
Read.
Read.
No, I'd like to raise a
No,
question,
Richard.
please.
Yes, Richard.
Madam Chair, yeah, it's just a question under item 20, community and budget grant applications. I was under the understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Bournemouth Football Club was a COVID related grant. And it says here, it doesn't say that, as where the other one says cost of COVID-19.
Where is that? I'm sorry, I'm
on the minutes, page 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bournemouth Football Club, the 1,600 that was agreed at full council.
Yeah,
I was under the understanding that was a cost of COVID.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I do remember at the full council meeting, I think it was Councillor Michelle Vince raised the issue that the club was struggling because of the COVID issue. However, the actual grant application that came into the council was for the stadium board, as we had previously done as a budgeted grant. And what we said is we'd revert to making that a budgeted grant going forward. So yes, it was certainly said by some members that the football club needed help because of COVID, but the actual grants that were submitted and on the application form
Was the board. Yes, I remember that. Is that okay?
That's been agreed.
Well,
now.
I would like to, if we can, then later on in the agenda. I know there's no other business to discuss on this agenda, but I do want to raise an issue with this, and obviously I want to do it through GMC. So can we have something put on? If obviously we can't discuss it at this agenda, can we have something please put onto the next agenda? Because I do feel uncomfortable with advertising when we stick a town crier through every door. I don't see the point in this advertisement. If we need to reward the money, I'm happy to do it in another context or another way, maybe something that we get back.
Okay, we'll put it on the next agenda. Is that, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as other members are happy with that. I just want a bit more discussion around actually what we're paying for.
Well, if I can help, Madam.
Hugh?
I mean, we are looking at the headline items for the budget next year. We're also looking at the income and expenditure report this year. At your next meeting, which is happening quite quickly, there are 2 GMCs quite close together in the autumn because of our budget setting timeline. And it can be raised naturally at that point because that was, we're scheduled to put it down as a budgeted granted. Members want to either reword it or do something different, then that's a perfect time to do that. I want you to be looking at the budget for next year so we can do it.
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I just come back on that? So I just want clarity on this issue. So can I bring that up tonight under the financial reports?
Well, it's
It doesn't
chairman's
come.
decision, but yeah,
I think we should put it, we can put it on the next, GMC. It's only in another month.
That's fine, as long as it's done before the budget's set. That's the thing.
oh yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it will be.
Okay. So
budget
I'm
set
taking-
in January.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so I'm taking your lead on that, if that's okay, please, Mr. Clark. That's great, thank you.
okay, thank you very much. So now can the firm and sign the minutes being held on the 23rd of July 2020? Thank
Yep.
you. Okay, 5, meeting date schedule for 2021.
Oh yes.
Number 1, procedure for adopting and amending meeting dates policy. And draft meeting date schedule for 2022 submitted for final approval to council on the 2nd of September 2020, subject to changes required by HBC dates and religious holidays. They're attached.
Right. So, Madam Chairman, there's a couple of issues here.
Right.
So our meeting schedule or scheduling for the meetings sort of put out of sync somewhat by COVID, like so many things at the town council. But you have before you now this list. You've certainly been sent it as well separately of proposed meeting dates for the calendar year 2021, not the council year, the calendar year. So really, it's going to be too late to wait till January to approve that. So I thought to bring it to September, so you can because the meeting starts in January. So you have also the Hertsmere Borough Council schedule, and we've been cognizant of that. This only goes up to July of 2021. So we can't be sure that some of the meetings that happen after that date in our calendar year may or may not clash. If they do, we'll seek to change them. At a previous GMC meeting, I remember that we agreed that we would exclude Jewish holidays and also Hindu holidays, but at that time not Islamic holidays, because we didn't have any Islamic members. However, I also understand that some members have said, well, actually, it's not just about the members, it's about members of the public as well. We want to get as many people to come or to be available to come to our meetings as possible. So we've also, to the best of our ability, included those as well. This is our best efforts in terms of a meeting schedule. Also, we've avoided Rotary meetings as well to allow, because there's no.
Have we got any days left for you to have our meetings?
Not many days left, and actually, I can assure you that there's certainly no, meetings is on my birthday,
Sorry.
and it's there are only so many days in the year to have
Exactly.
meetings.
Okay.
So we've actually had to do a bit of jiggery-pokery. And you will notice as well that there are some meetings that were traditionally on a Wednesday, because that's when we had the free use of Fairway Hall.
Yes.
Now, on other days, you may see, unusually, we didn't ordinarily have meetings on a Monday. I think we had a council meeting on a Monday once. But now there are meetings on Mondays as well.
Right. I see. And Wednesdays.
We open the hall again and we have physical meetings. We may need to think about some of these dates again.
Okay.
In terms of clashes on Mondays and so on.
Okay. Thank you, Hugh. Clive, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if there was actually any changes to the procedure for determining and amending council and committee meeting dates. Or is it standing?
There aren't any changes, but you will notice that ordinarily, the intention is to agree in January dates for the next council year. But this year, because of COVID and everything else that's happened, we're agreeing the dates in September for the calendar year 2021.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to say anything about the schedule? No?
So we'll take that to full council and
Take it to full council, yes, Hugh. Thank you. Number 6, financial report. Hugh, to consider income and expenditure report on this to the 6th of October 2020.
That's right. So you have that in front of you. It's appended to the papers. Looks like this. All the columns of figures.
Yeah.
Obviously, one thing I mean, it's coming. I mean, if there's any questions about the income and expenditure reports, happy to answer those to the best of my ability. I do prefer it if you can ordinarily ask me before the meeting, so I can.
I did ask if anybody wanted to say anything wrong, anything. And nobody came back to me.
I haven't had anything on that. I mean, taking the item as a whole, I will say that you've got the audit reports there, which Councillor Butchins prepared, although Councillor Newmark was there at the meeting as well back in September. And the headline items, that's just your opportunity now. It's your first bite of the cherry. We go through all of the committees in this way, asking if there are any particular things you would like Tracy and myself to factor into the budget now, so that when you look at the draft next month, you can see how it's panning out. I haven't had a steer from members, for example, as to whether you want to increase the precept or not next year. I know some authorities are. I'm going to ask Aldenham and Shenley what they're doing. I know, for example, that Felixstowe Town Council is looking to increase its precept by 8% next year. We may do it in 2 tranches, 4% and then 4% the following year. But that was, I thought that was interesting. But there'll obviously be questions about the services the council's providing or not providing because of COVID, and how we want to reshape that, as we did, for example, with the school swimming programme. And I'm thinking of, especially the entertainment's budget. And I think that committee is really going to have to take some hard decisions about the fireworks and Christmas and so on, and the civic festival, of course. So, yeah.
Richard.
Sorry, I just come off mute, Madam Chair. Yeah, Hugh, I've raised this in the past on the election fund, cost of elections, 108, the item number. It's still the round figure of £10,000. Are we confident that that's going to be enough, knowing what the cost of the election was, obviously, a few years ago now?
We've tried, through you, Madam Chairman, got an attendee. Sorry, I'm going to invite Simon Rubner's getting in. I do apologise. We have asked Democratic Services for of how much elections are likely to cost. Yes, they do seem to go up every year, don't they? And what's not counted in that, of course, is if there's a cost to us for a by-election as well. So that's something that we'd perhaps need to consider. But at the moment, in terms of the forecasting we've done, that seems the correct for at the moment. But we'll ask again. We'll ask Democrats.
Well, sorry, Madam Chair, if I can come back. Sorry, it's a bit awkward doing it this way. Hugh, if that's a good point you raise about by-elections. Would it be a possibility then, maybe just for us to have a sort of another head in there, cost of by-elections?
Yeah,
and maybe we can have another lump sum, just to give us a safety net for that type of thing.
It's an interesting question, Madam Chairman, and one wants to ask from a practical point of view. Do you want to budget for something that may or may not happen, or is it better to see that the kind of contingency? A contingency. So in the same way we have a contingency fund for, I don't know, if our boiler breaks down, that we've got that there. It's kind of rainy day pot. It may be that, and in any event, you'll notice these cost of elections, they go to an earmarked reserve. So we'd be drawing the money from a reserve anyway, and with council's approval. So if there was a by-election, we'd simply run over on that reserve. We'd draw it from that money. But it may not be good financial practice to budget for something that may or may not happen, like a budget, like an election.
Thank you. Richard? Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm just nervous because, as Hugh alluded to earlier, and he's absolutely right, they've been creeping up slowly, and it's just one of those things that could easily slip over. I mean, £10,000 seems like a lot of money, doesn't it, for an election cost? But we just don't know what Hertsmere will ask for when it comes to it. And every time we've had an election, it has creeped up. I'm just nervous that we're going to get caught out on something so.
But Hugh's given us the explanation.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Hugh.
Jeremy, you wanted to speak.
Yes, it's a general point. I'm very happy with the income and expenditure documents as they've been circulated. I think in terms of flagging up issues around next year's budget, my sense is that the normal rules don't apply because of the COVID scenario and the unpredictability of everything, and the idea of sort of pinging this across the committees at this stage and asking them for input is fine to get initial views, but that actually in advance of the budgetary meeting for the next financial year, I think we'll possibly need a sort of standalone or a special meeting of GMC to assess the situation as it is then. It's, for instance, talking about the council tax and the precept. It's very hard to have that conversation when we don't know what the council tax base will be. And my understanding is that because of COVID and actually next year's council tax holding fund at the borough effectively carrying forward council tax debt from this year, which is massively increased, obviously, because of non-payments due to COVID. The council tax base as a whole is going to be quite significantly reduced. So, how does one have a conversation about the precept when we don't know what the baseline is that we're starting with? And given that represents such a large chunk of our income, any conversations that we have about budget and priorities at this stage, I feel are going to be premature. I do think it's too early a stage in the process. And I certainly don't object to sort of getting a feel for what the committees want and what people think we should be doing. But I think everything's got to be really up for grabs until a much later stage in the process, when we know what the situation is, when we know if we've had another lockdown, and when we know what the outlook is for next year. So these are unique circumstances, and I appreciate it's not a great way to do a budget, but I would certainly caution against putting anything in stone at this point. And I think that the sooner we can get a handle on that council tax base calculation from the borough, the better position we'll be in to take the conversation forward. But it could have quite significant effects on our core income next year.
Okay, Jeremy. So in short, you're wanting another meeting of the GMC to discuss it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying yes. I'm saying let's get the feedback from all the committees in terms of their priorities and top lines, but let's have a conversation at the GMC at a later date, okay, much closer to the budget meeting itself, when we understand what the outlook is.
Okay, we'll have. Thank you for that, Jeremy. Clive, you wanted to say something?
Yes, please. Two things actually. First of all, on the election fund, I seem to recall, and I stand to be corrected, that the cost last time round was in the order of between 20 and 30,000. Which seems to be a fairly standard sort of figure, and at 10,000 a year, that should easily cover that. I don't know what the cost of a by-election would be, but I suspect we wouldn't actually be too far off if we have 30, well, if we end up having less than 30,000 in the bank because of the by-election, but possibly more or less enough to cover the main every election every 4 years or whatever it is. The other thing was this year, obviously, yes, overall financially, it's going to be completely different from all the years previously, and we haven't had a lot of the entertainment spend that we normally have. So I would be inclined to suggest that we have we don't spend that money, so obviously it'll go into whatever pot it goes into, won't it, Hugh? And so we won't actually be particularly stretched this year in terms of the overall budget, I suspect. I know we've done about 15,000 or whatever on computers, but that's only part of it. But it seems to me that we probably don't need to go for an increase in precept this year or for next year, and we'll have to see how it goes. And one final note, I would suggest that planning for next year's town festival should be based on the idea that it could well be virtual. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Clive. Pat, you wanted to say something.
Two things, please. The entertainment budget, we've got lots of things that we are planning with our money, and so it's quite likely that much of the budget will be spent. We're aiming to have some sort of celebration in March where we would use the fireworks money that's left over from Christmas, and so we will probably be using all of that. So Dan and I have been in talks, and it's very difficult to plan for something when you don't know whether it's going to be going ahead or not. But we have looked at what money is in that budget there, and we are probably going to be able to spend it on our residents for festive occurrences and events.
Thank you very much, Pat.
That isn't why I put my hand up in the first place, though. I put my hand up to say I have heard from head teachers here in Boreham Wood that only 2 schools have gone back to swimming so far, Parkside and Cowley Hill. That means that 9 schools haven't, and those 9 schools don't plan to go back until after Christmas. So there could be some money left over even in the swimming coach budget, although we have allocated some of that to the COVID tablets project. So there is a possibility that we could use that money for other good projects if people, if Hugh is in agreement with that. If we were to think about what a third of the budget is, thinking of the spring term, and see what might be left over from what you would normally pay for the coaches.
Okay, Pat, thank you very much. Anybody else want to say anything?
Just like to ask members then, do you want me to submit a draft budget to the next GMC meeting in November or not?
I think we should wait.
Okay.
My opinion is we should wait, but what everybody else feels, I mean, I'm not the only one. I just think we should wait a little while to see how we
go. I'm sorry, Chair. I think that the trigger should be when we have an indication of the council tax base from the borough.
Yeah.
It may be that by November we have that. I think that's very unlikely, but that should be the point at which our planning starts from, because that's going to set our baseline.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy.
So if I'm reading members correctly, then I'll certainly ask the corporate director what if they have that figure, or if they don't have it, which they probably don't, when we're likely to obtain that figure. I won't at the moment then prepare a draft budget for next year. I think we are required to set the precept in January, so we will want something around about that time. Whether we can have a special GMC meeting before that time, leave in your hands, members, subject to people's availability.
Okay, thank you very much, Hugh. Community and budgeted grant applications. To note, special community grants made since the last meeting as follows. You've got this, haven't you, in front of you?
So that's right, Madam Chairman. That's the list. I thought it was important because this was sort of agreed. I won't say sort of committee, but it was agreed by an email round robin email, wasn't it? I thought it was important that our minute book reflected the decision and the relevant statutory powers to make those payments. Since making all of these, the school, I want to say Monksmead, is it Monks?
Yeah, Monksmead, yeah.
Monksmead, is that right?
Yeah.
Have also submitted an application, and so I'll assume that is also approved and add that to the list and write them a check as well. But we've also, I should have received some thank you letters from the schools. If members want to see those, I'm happy to show them. But some of the schools have written to us to thank us warmly.
Thank you. What have they been? They've been very pleased with this donation and all of this.
Indeed, and what I was hoping to do, as well as the press release, is we'll have an article in the next Town Crier magazine with some quotes from some of the schools to say what they've done with the money, as well as letting residents and the wider public know that we've finalised this.
Very nice. That's very nice. At least when people appreciate things, it's great. Thank you very much. Sorry. Now I need somebody to take me.
Oh no, there's one, Madam Chairman. If you remember, there was a revised agenda. There was a revised agenda set out because there's one additional item, isn't it, which Councillor Newmark alerted us to.
Oh yes.
About the membership of the what we're calling it now, because its name seems to change at every email, but it's the climate emergency or climate change working group, which is the last full council meeting. And if you remember, there was some discussion about the issue of its membership, and
yes, that's what it was. But I haven't got it on my.
Look at it at this meeting.
Okay, so I haven't got it actually in my papers here, but
it was in the revised one, but it is. I can assure you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So can you tell me what it says then, Hugh?
See if I've got it here. So I've got so many bits of paper. It says Climate Change Subcommittee to consider and agree membership and lead member for Climate Change Subcommittee referred to the committee from full council.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, you got that. Pat.
I think all we're waiting for is the submission from the both the groups of the makeup of the working group, and then we will have a councillors' initial meeting so we can talk to each other and look at the steps forward. I think that's what we agreed, Jeremy.
Our submission as a group was in the original motion that went to full council, and I think that your group obviously said that you wanted further discussion, and I think, if I'm right, Sandra, you suggested that you would have some names sort of to bring forward an alternative composition to this meeting so that we could sign off the membership.
Yeah, we have. Pat, can you go through those, please?
Well, it's Clive Butchins, Sandra Parnell, Pat Strack, and Sam Lawrence.
But we haven't got yours,
Jeremy.
Yeah, our nominations were as on the original motion that went to.
Can you go?
Has somebody got that list? I'm sorry, I only have it on my.
I thought it only included the name. I may be wrong. I often am.
I just said one Labour member, but
the name of the lead member, which was your.
It says yourself as lead member and another one Labour member.
I believe it was Rebecca.
I thought it said one.
Councillor Chalice.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, I didn't see. I didn't.
Chalice and Jay. The thing is, you've just given 4 Conservative names there, Karen.
Yes, we have.
So I thought there was only 2. I thought the membership totaled 4 members.
No, we agreed at the last meeting that Jeremy said he was happy to have more members if people wanted to sit on that committee.
So you have.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think this is an issue of
Listen,
party politics, to
It
be
isn't.
frank. And I think as long as people want to be on the committee in order to do some work and get it moving,
Absolutely.
I'm not fussed which groups they come from
And
or
that's
what the balance is. It's not a party political
to
matter.
summarise then, the membership of the group is Clive Butchin, Sandra Pannell, Sam Lawrence, Pat Strack, Rebecca Chalice, and Jeremy Newmark, and Jeremy Newmark to be the lead member. Is that right?
yeah, yes,
Okay.
okay. And then at the next meeting, we spoke about, at the next meeting we have, we can then discuss who from like Sky and all the other places that we invite on when we've got it, that we can actually present to them.
Yes, I think the first meeting would just be councillors, and
Yes.
we would then expand it for the second meeting. And Sandra, you had also asked for some research on other councils of a similar size with case studies of this work. I've actually circulated this evening to all of you on the email a paper that was produced by the NALC on the role of local town and parish councils in transport planning, which focuses on sustainable transport. And it's got a number of very helpful examples from councils similar to our own that have done everything from basic lift share schemes to Section 19 bus services and so on. I mean, there are other examples out there, but I thought, because I know we often take advice from NALC, that was the best place to go, and their document actually is well worth reading. I've sent a link to it on your email.
I've got it.
great. And we can talk afterwards about a date for the meeting.
Well, yes, we need some dates.
Yeah.
Don't we, Jeremy?
Indeed.
I've got some dates. I had some dates here.
On a separate,
I'll send them around separately and we'll agree the dates.
send around separately, because it doesn't involve everybody. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Hugh, you've got that, yes? Thank you very much. Okay, part 2, exclusion of the press and public. Are there any people here?
Happy to move.
Happy to move. Thank you very much, Richard. Hugh, the clerk's report, please.
Well, I'm happy to say that there are no